Whenever there's an announcement for a change coming to Marvel Contest of Champions, my brain goes through a few different phases, a few different ways of thinking about the information that's being presented to us. And it's no different for this update here where they're talking about a change to the 5-star featured crystal. And I kind of wanted to give you guys the full picture this time and just walk you guys through the thought process about, how I come to the conclusions that I come to. So my initial gut reaction, that's always the first thought that goes through my mind, just that gut reaction, initial thoughts about it. And my gut reaction for this one is that I do not like this new system that they're talking about. It just really does not appeal to me. The system that we currently have in game, it's far from perfect, but at the same time, it's pretty damn fun actually, right? The way it works currently is that each new champion that gets added to the game, they get their own unique featured 5-star crystal, and you have a roughly 1 in 5 chance to pull that champion, right? So it's about a 20% chance to pull that champion. It's never guaranteed, no matter how many tries you have, but each crystal you pop is about 20% roughly. And the way that it's going to be changed is that instead of each champion getting their own unique featured crystal, every 3 months there's going to be a new featured crystal that hits, and it's going to have the latest 6 champions in that crystal. So for example, the first one is going to be Thor Ragnarok, Taskmaster, MODOK, Century Void, and Hela. Those are going to be the 6 featured champions. And then Kabam is going to throw 18 other champions in that crystal as well. So it's basically 24 champions in total. And instead of there being an increased odds at getting, the featured champion they're going for, it's just a 1 in 24. Every single, all 24 champions within this crystal, it has equal odds to pull any of them. So it's essentially going from about a 1 in 5 to a 1 in 24. And that definitely lowers the odds by quite a bit, man. So yeah, like I said, the change is really not too appealing to me at all. I would definitely preferred being able to kind of target these champions a bit more, right? So yeah, that's my initial reaction to it. And then the next thing that always goes through my mind is I try to get in Kabam's mind, try to figure out like why are these changes being made? Was there an issue with the older systems? Does this allow new systems to be made? Are they trying to squeeze out an extra buck or two, right? Because yeah, that's of course, Kabam's a business, so of course I think about that as well. How do you target these champions if you can't target them in the featured 5-star crystal? Well, there's always featured Grandmaster crystals, right? But the more I think about that, it's like Kabam already makes so much money off of those featured Grandmaster crystals, and I understand you could never make too much money, right? I'm sure they're always trying to increase their profits, right? But at the same time, I got to imagine that they're pretty satisfied with the amount of money they're making, and maybe they would try to increase revenue in other ways or something, right? So while I'm not totally ruling out that that's one of the reasons why they're doing this, my brain kind of moves on to the next thing. And the next thing is like, okay, was there a problem with the old system, or could there perhaps be some kind of improvement that I'm just not instantly thinking of with this method? So I start thinking about how it works right now, and I'm thinking about everybody who's opening up their featured 5-star crystals, and what I come to realize is that people have multiple shots at pretty much every champion that they want to go for. When the system was first introduced, 5-star shards were a lot more difficult to come by. And man, you might have like 1 or 2 tries at some of these champions that were initially introduced into the system. And if you took those chances, well, yeah, it's going to take you a long time to get another 1 or 2 tries saved up, right? There's been, a lot of additional methods of gaining 5-star shards being added to the game, or just improved things. Like, I don't even think Master Mode was in the game back when this system was introduced, right? People didn't have as deep of 4-star rosters to the point where now, essentially, every time you pop open a 4-star crystal, at least for, like, the veteran players of the game, you're duplicating that champion, right? Before it was like, okay, you're duplicating some champions, you're getting some 5-star shards as well. Now it's like, okay, not only are you getting just way more 4-star crystals in general, these things are coming in faster and faster, but it's practically a dupe every single time. Not only is it a dupe, but sometimes it's a max signature dupe where you're doubling up on those shards. So yeah, the 5-star shards, they're coming in fast, man. And I look around at the other YouTubers who are popping open, featured crystals, and it seems like they have multiple crystals for essentially every champion that they want to go for. Not every single champion that's released, but maybe like every 3 champions, something like that, they've got multiple crystals saved up to the point where it's no longer so much of a gamble with these shards. You're really able to target these champions. You're able, I mean, if you have a little bit of luck on your side, you're essentially able to just pick out your roster at that point. Um, so I was thinking, okay, maybe that's part of the problem. I mean, it's certainly fun being able to do that, but maybe that's why this whole change is being made. It's just that there are a lot more ways to get these 5-star shards, and maybe it's increasing the odds of you getting these champions just to be too much, having multiple shots at it. And then I think about, well, okay, if they make this change to the system, I mean, there's a lot of other places where we kind of need these updates to the reward systems as well. Like Alliance War rewards, they've never been updated. Kabam said they're going to update them, but they said, not yet when they made all of those changes. Maybe it's because we were already getting quite a few 5-star shards, a little bit too many 5-star shards for the old featured system. But if they make this change, then maybe they can actually give us more 5-star shards. Maybe they can finally update all of the Alliance events that haven't been updated in forever, right? Like the Summoner Advancement, the Alliance 3-day events. I mean, these events, they're practically worthless at this point by today's standards. Whereas, a year ago, they were actually giving out, like pretty good rewards. But if they update them, then it'll actually make them be a lot more worth it to actually put that time and effort into doing, versus most alliances just saying screw it these days, right? So if that was their mindset, and again, this is all just kind of speculation, I'm just trying to get it in their mind. If that was their mindset going or making this change, that hey, we can actually dish out even more rewards if they can't, if players can't target these champions as well as they've recently been able to target them, then I'm actually cool with the changes. I'm actually cool with getting more shards, more chances just to. I mean, sure, I'll pop open basics. I'll pop open basics all day. If I could pop open more basics, I'll eventually get the champions that I'm after, right? And it'll actually help out one of the biggest issues that I feel like is in the game right now, where there's just this huge gap in prestige between some players who have kind of gotten a bit lucky. You could have like 7,000, 7,500 plus prestige. Compared to a player who has gotten unlucky and they have like 5,000, 5,500 prestige. That gap is just too big, man. I mean, in the past when it was just between 4-star champions, it was like a few hundred points or something like that. And yeah, that's still, can make or break you getting the best rewards in Alliance Quest or not and everything. But nowadays, man, the gap is just it's far too big, right? So if we can get more 5-star shards, more chances to pop open and get these champions, it's going to narrow that gap that players currently have in the prestige, and essentially not break up alliances. Because man, I'm seeing people, I'm seeing a lot of shifting going around in alliances due to prestige reasons lately. Especially with the release of 5.4 and people being able to take up their champion to rank 5, right? So yeah, that's kind of a big deal. There does need to be a way to target these champions, though, and we've always been missing this way, man. New system or not, man, there needs to be an update to Arena. We need to be able to get champions from the Arena. When it comes to 4-star champions, there's always been a featured 4-star crystal that you can spend the units on. You can try your luck there to get the champion, or you could play the Arena, right? Or you can wait 6 months and get the champion as a basic. But you're able to target these champions. You can't do that with 5 stars, and that really needs to be added to the game, right? And I feel like that's kind of always needed to be in the game, and it just hasn't been. And as a result, the players who have been able to to open up a lot of these featured Grandmaster crystals, the difference in people's accounts is just far too big, man. Same thing like prestige-wise. There's just such a big gap. I don't think we've ever seen this big of a gap. Not since I've been playing the game. Not since I've kind of known the ins and outs of the game, at least, right? The gap is just far too big at the moment. What I would like to see happen in Arena is a shift in the way, we could start things off slow and just have one arena that has a 5-star. Maybe there's not going to be a basic end feature. Maybe you could even just start out with a feature or something like that, right? Something. Just give us something. And the way I'd like to see it is that, right now, the highest arena is for the featured 4-star champion. I want to see that shifted down. So I want to see that shifted down to basically where the 4-star basic is. So in the basic arena, that's where you'd get the 4-star featured. In the arena where you would get the 3-star champion, that's where you get the 4-star basic. And in Summer Trials, which does not award a champion at all, it just gives you shards, that's where you should get the 3-star featured. And this is, it just makes more sense, just progressing through the game. You're going to be using your 2-star champions to earn 3 stars to build up your 3-star roster, right? Then once your 3-star roster is built up, you can use those 3-star champions to hit up the arena and get the 4-star basic champion to build up your 4-star roster. Repeat the same thing, build up your 4-star roster, enable you to go for these 4-star features, and then eventually, once once your 4-star roster is really developed and you've got some 5 stars and everything like that, then you can compete for the 5-star champion. To me, it makes total sense, right? So, I feel like that needs to be added to the game, regardless of whatever system is in here for getting these 5-star champions. So yeah, I would like to see that, and if all of these changes are to enable the increasing of rewards, then I'm cool with it. Just still trying to put myself in the mindset of Kabam. I think that a good time to increase the rewards would be the introduction of 6 stars. So whenever 6 stars can actually be gotten from crystals, which is in, probably the next month or two, according to when they first announced 6-star champions at least, that would be a great time to increase the rewards for Alliance War, to increase the rewards for, all of the Alliance 3-day events, Summer Advancement, all that stuff, right? And again, I wouldn't mind it. There is a problem with this system, though, in that there's just too many duds in here, man. Who's gonna go for this? Like, at least include a couple more good champions. Take out some of these champions that really just don't need to be here. I get that Ant-Man, he kind of has a purpose in this game, but does he really need to be in a featured crystal at this point? And there needs to be some dud champions in here, but it's just too many. It's just too many. They need to increase the odds of pulling someone at least decent, or at least good, right? Not even decent. They need to be, there needs to be multiple champions in here that can be like game-changing champions. Otherwise, why bother, right? And I think that this was actually a suggestion from players, by the way. I don't think people suggested with the 5-star crystal necessarily, but I've seen suggestions many times about the 4-star crystal where people would ask for a system like this, ask to pay a little bit extra in terms of 4-star shards to be able to have a narrower pool of getting the champion that they want. I don't know how people feel about it now that they're seeing it as a 5-star version instead of the 4-star version that they were asking about. That definitely does make a difference. But yeah, this is definitely actually something that players asked for, believe it or not, just with a different shard type. Okay, so again, I'm not really too into this system, but if it does enable some of these other changes to take place, then I'm okay with kind of a worse system being added to pave the way for a better future of the game. With all that said, we need to talk about one final thing here. And this is something that I really don't like to talk about much, but hey man, I'm walking you guys through exactly what's going on in my mind when I read this post. And there's one last thing that I want to talk about in this post, and that's the date that all these changes actually go into effect, which is February the 13th. Which, this really tripped me up the first time I read this, man. I'm sure many of you as well, because February 13th, what the hell? Like, Blade's his second coming comes back on the 22nd. You're telling me these changes are going to not allow us the second shot at Blade? Well, don't worry, man. Kabam has your back, they say, because we know how much time and effort you've all put into acquiring shards for the return of Blade's featured here at Crystal. We decided to run his Crystal one more time. It return on its regular scheduled date of February the 22nd. Whew, okay, alright, so saving for Blade is still on, which is really good, man, because, yeah, if you didn't get Blade the first time, like, you need to pull Blade the second time. Like, it's crucial, man, for, like, the future of the game. Because right now, there's two different types of players in Marvel Contest of Champions. There's players with Blade and players without. And, yeah, after February 22nd, there's still going to be players without Blade, unfortunately, but you want to make sure that you're not one of those players that is on the without Blade side of the game, essentially. But I want to talk about this a little bit more here, because I see this a little bit differently other than just Kabam saying we have a second chance at Blade still. I see them saying that we know how much time and effort you've all put into acquiring shards for the Return of Blades feature here, Crystal. There's never been a situation like this before where so many people, essentially the entire player base, practically at least like the top end of the player base, is saving for Blade. Everybody knows how powerful Blade is. Kabam, of course, they know how powerful Blade is, and they're acknowledging it here that that is the go-to champion. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Blade. But I have to be very clear here in saying that I am not asking for Blade to be nerfed. I do not want to see a Blade nerf. Instead, what I want to see is other people talking about Blade, people getting as excited about other champions as they do for Blade. I want to see Kabam introduce content that Blade doesn't just steamroll through, and that the other 100 plus champions in the game are still relevant. That's what I want to see, right? And I'm hoping that they can do that. They tried with Scarlet Witch. They failed. They came right out and said that they just absolutely could not design content that that basically didn't hurt the game. Like, I mean, they added the Dole's node to Labyrinth of Legends, so she couldn't steamroll through there anymore. But that did more harm for the game than good, right? So that doesn't count. Hopefully, it's not going to be the same way with Blade, because I mean, Blade and Scarlet Witch, they are two entirely different beasts. The skills that they were able to bring, or the abilities they were able to bring to the fight, they definitely two different types of champions, right? The problem right now, though, is, like I said, it's either you have Blade or you don't. And the way the community views Blade, it's in a very similar light to the way that they viewed, Scarlet Witch in the past, which at the moment is making for, a bit of an issue, right? It's making part of the game kind of irrelevant. It's making some of these decisions irrelevant, because when people talking about who to rank up pre 12.0, it was like, okay, do you have Scarlet Witch? You do? Awesome. Rank up that Scarlet Witch. Build a team entirely around Scarlet Witch. You're good to go. Oh, you don't have Scarlet Witch? Oh, okay. Well, now we have to actually think a bit. What do you want to accomplish? There's certain champions that do a better job here. Certain champions that do a better job here. A lot of thinking went into it, right? And it made things more interesting. Right now, it's kind of that same situation with Blade, right? Where, okay, who to rank up? Do you have Blade? Perfect. Rank up that Blade. You could build a team around Blade. You're good to go, man. Awakening Gem, the same thing, right? Pre 12.0, you got an Awakening Gem? Give it to Scarlet Witch. Oh, you already gave it to Scarlet Witch? Okay, well now we need to sit down and go through your roster. Same thing with Blade, right? Just feed it to Blade. Difficult content. Who are you going to take in? Who's the best champions to bring in for this piece of content? Scarlet Witch. Oh, you don't got Scarlet Witch? All right, let's strategize. Same thing for Blade. I mean, Scarlet Witch was the champion that everybody wanted to see from their crystal. Even the featured crystals that they were spending units on, they wanted to see featured champions, but they wanted Scarlet Witch that much more. It's the same thing with Blade here. I'm popping open a whole bunch of shards hoping to get Medusa, but if I'm being honest, the best possible opening I can get is not Medusa. The best possible opening I can get is Blade. In pre 12.0, people were using 3-star Scarlet Witch if they didn't have the 4-star version, because the 3-star version of Scarlet Witch was more powerful than practically every 4-star in the game as well. Well, it's kind of the same situation here, where 4-star Blade is just that much stronger than nearly every 5-star, including some of the more powerful 5-star champions. Like, there's a lot of situations where I'd rather use my 4-star Blade than my 5-star Gwenpool. So it's a little bit of an odd situation at the moment, and I do think it's an issue. And again, I'm not hoping for a nerf to Blade. I'm hoping that Kabam can change the game to make it interesting again without the need to nerf Blade. But the reason I bring this up again is because I'm seeing it here. Kabam is acknowledging that we're all doing it. We're all trying to get Blade. So I see this as kind of a warning sign, and I'm thinking that Kabam, maybe they're going to try to make some changes or something like that. Again, this is all just speculation at this point. Maybe they're going to try to make some changes, and if they can't figure out a way to make the other 100 plus champions more relevant in comparison to Blade, then maybe this is the start of something that I dare not say for Blade's future. I mean, there's even that whole thing back in the Scarlet Witch days where, you could choose to rank up Scarlet Witch, or you could choose a prestige champion. It's not even like that anymore with Blade, right? He is the prestige champion while also being the champion that covers more area of the game than any other. And there are definitely champions who existed pre 12.0 that were better than Scarlet Witch in certain things, just like there are now in the game. There's certain things that Blade, he's not the number one champion. It's just that he's that cover all champion. And it's not one of those jack of all trades, master of none. It's more like jack of all trades, master of most of those trades kind of thing, right? Where he actually is just the number one in a lot of these very important areas of the game. And I mean, I don't even know if they could do what they did with Scarlet Witch, where they added that Dold node, because, I mean, Blade, he can actually just get rid of nodes. How do you add a node to counter this guy when, if you have danger senses active, you can just turn off that node? So yeah, it's a very tricky situation. I'll say it one more time. I don't want to see Blade nerfed. Instead, I want to see Kabam do something to make these other champions more relevant. And we are seeing some balance changes start to be added here with the introduction of that beta, where they're going to be changing and buffing. I mean, I hope they're buffing Luke Cage and Red Hulk. Man, if they were nerfing those guys, then I don't even know what to say. But yeah, where they're buffing those two champions. But that's kind of another warning sign too, is that balance is on their mind, at least in some degree, right? So yeah, guys, that's just the way I see it, man. I don't really want to talk about this on the live stream. We could talk about anything else that I talked about here. Please don't bring up Blade on the live stream. I try my best not to talk about him, but when I see something like this that is just like a red flag for him, then yeah, I'm going to call it out and let you guys know what I think. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.